Hulk number 7, which is Hulk versus Thor, Banner of War Part 3 of 5, written by Donny Cates, art by Martin Coccolo, colors by Matt Wilson, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. You end up, after Hulk was accused of murdering a bar full of patrons in El Paso, Texas, Thor set out to apprehend him, leading to an all-out brawl between the two titans in the arena in the far depths of space. While the God of Thunder fought a giant's body, Odin's spirit entered his mind, where the former All-Father witnessed what really happened the night of the murders. Bruce Banner, we had issues with that, me and you are going back and forth last week.
One of us did, yeah.
Yeah. Bruce Banner had peacefully gone to the bar, but somehow the Hulk's rage inadvertently passed from Bruce to everyone around him. The raging patrons assaulted Bruce just as some new dark force took over his body and used it to brutally kill them all.
Boy, that does make it sound much clearer in the recap than it did in the actual book. They do that a lot.
Even then, I still have a problem of, is it, the narration? Are we really seeing what went on? But also the idea that it really does point out it was self-defense. I mean, then he watched it burn. I think that was the problem afterwards.
Well, it was self-defense, but it wasn't him anymore, right? It was that dark eye thing.
You end up having darkness taking over, and also would have just been self. I mean, he got attacked. At the same time, uninterested in the rest of the Avengers, wait for Thor's intel strategy. Iron Man arrived at the fray between God and Gamma, sporting some new celestial-powered Hulkbuster armor. The funny thing is, and I do believe it was on the spotlight last week, I ended up saying at one point, it looks like it's a Celestial with this. And we're like, oh, it's just, no, it's the Celestial.
It was definitely Celestial-inspired, Celestial-powered, yeah.
And he's saying here it's full-out Celestial, even in it when he's talking, and the idea,
I guess we could say he got some of the tech from Avengers Mountain, maybe. You could...
I'm telling you, the way it blasted off, I still swear, I'm like, are you playing that it is the deal? It can't be, but... They start going with the idea of scale and scope here, that it's huge. I didn't even think that was the case at one point because you just see these characters together. But
yeah, it's hard to do some of these battle scenes because the Celestial Hulkbuster is just so immense that it's hard to show him and Thor and Hulk all on the panel together. Like on the cover, we have this crazy, super foreshortened, hand reaching forward. Even the hand is so much bigger than Hulk.
In that, he says that the Hulk is growing and growing, and the big thing is siphoning off the Gamma in this as they are fighting. So you end up having Tony in the Celestial Buster armor going after Hulk, and then Thor's there, but then Thor is going to kind of stop that and protect it because Odin and the hammer, there's a lot of going on, like the craziness.
I guess the Bifrost beamed everybody out of the stadium so they don't get all blowed up. Even Uatu's gone. Yeah.
Like, by the way, everybody else got out and like they're counting their money as they run. They were saying, but they're trying to bring down Hulk, but he's getting overpowered. He ends up the Gamma that they're trying to siphon off into the Celestial armor, this Hulkbuster deal. It's working, but it's not working enough, and there's too much. So it's building and building. This is a very quick issue. I mean, this is another one of those, like a big fight scene, and the big deal of Thor dealing with Odin in the hammer. It's not as played out as, say, the last issue or whatnot, but at one point you do have Thor like desperately, like, Dad, you got to help me here. Like, go do what you got to do because things are getting way out of hand. I feel bad for Tony.
Odin thinks it's that trope of, oh, no, I can talk to him. I can calm him down. That's Odin's role. And Tony's there saying, no, we're just going to blast him because that always worked for the Hulk. Just get a bigger gun. That'll fix it.
Yeah, and why I feel bad for Tony is Tony shows up here thinking, okay, me and Thor now, we'll take care of this Hulk. We'll get him in. Let's bring him in. Let's go back, see what's going on. He pretty much gets caught with, his pants down almost because I don't think he expected anything of what's going on with this, with how powered up Hulk is, how Thor ends up not even, and even says, I like the idea because really, Donny Cates might even be poking fun at himself and everybody else like Jason Aaron of, there's always something wrong with the hammer. This had been Brandon's problem on this podcast in episode 1, 400 and some episodes away. Like, it's always the hammer. It's always, you're not worthy. You're worthy. You're doing this. This is different. So I like it. But Tony or anybody, how would they know? Because then at Thor, the hammer goes.
This is my mother, the car, but my dad, the hammer.
But he doesn't know. This is just, again, more hammer problems because all of a sudden, as you're having this huge battle and everything looks great, I'll
More
tell you, some
hammers,
of it
more
got
problems.
got a little confusing at points of the progression of the deal. But the more you look at it, you can see.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure when they left that giant hand and now they're on another planet.
Yeah, they're just all over the place. What I have a problem with most of this, and it's little, is that when Odin does end up, hey, Dad, you go. Okay, I'll go. I'm going to try to talk to him. I'll try to calm him down. I'll do whatever I can. He does go and put the hammer on top of Hulk again. We've seen this. And
I guess that hole in his gut healed up by now.
That was my point. Like, that healed up, the gamma healing.
You played that trick.
Yeah, why don't you just do it again? I mean, it's so weird to do that same thing that didn't work before just to do it again. I thought that was a bit of a misplay. But you do have Odin desperately like trying to calm everybody down. I got to get the banner. I got to figure it out. We do end up with a little more. We were confused last issue, a little of he doesn't know he's in a simulation. Oh my God. And that's what I like about this issue a little more. This issue feels like it's like just a little extended explanations, even that recap. Like you said, it explained things a little clearer. And while you have this big fight, you do get a couple of the things going on, though. I do get mad at the end.
There's a twist where it looks like Hulk is attacking Tony, but actually it's Thor attacking Tony because he wants to stop the fight. That was very confusing. I had to read that a bunch of times to realize that's what's really going on.
Because what happens is Odin wants to talk to Bruce, try to calm him down, trying to do that. In the meantime, Tony's getting in the way. Like I said, Tony doesn't understand what he could never understand what's going on.
He thinks it's 2 against 1. He thinks he's part of the 2, but he's not.
Yeah. And then he thinks like, holy crap, what's going on? Because then that's when Thor says the hammer's kind of being wonky. He can't like, my dad's in the hammer. He's like,
he doesn't want to get into that right now.
Yeah, it's always you in this hammer. But Tony is caught, like I said, with his pants down, thinking that they're just going to take him down.
Which, for Tony Stark, he's probably been caught with his pants down more than once.
Exactly. Way more. Probably like 3 times that day.
He barely wears pants.
Right? I mean, seriously. He probably isn't under that armor there in there.
He'd break away like he's a basketball player.
You end up where, at one point, it's kind of a cool deal where you do have a Tony Stark here who can fight toe-to-toe because he's got a Celestial Hulkbuster deal. But in the meantime, he's fighting somebody who he shouldn't really be fighting, according to Odin. Odin has to then talk to Banner, but then has to take down Tony. It did get confusing when the hammer actually attacks Tony. Thor says, hey, that wasn't me, but that's when Banner's yelling. He doesn't know this is a simulation. He's not going to hold back. He
so this is like the engine room Hulk who doesn't realize that this isn't just level 7.5 or whatever. It's
going to get to the point where it's not going to back off. He will kill you. Other battles, kind of playing off the idea that in any other story, we know that they're probably not going to die, but every other story they'll fight.
Giant Celestial Iron Man sounds like an engine room setting.
Yeah, it does. I mean, they're both very much like, that. So that is crazy. And a big giant Thor, like that's just the gods again and going. So it wouldn't know, and it will just destroy them. In the meantime, trying to siphon off this gamma, and it's going and going, and then it explodes. It just, and they're like, Thor, you got to get out. Everybody's got to get out of here. I mean, this is more, this is not a gamma bomb.
Thor is trying to get the hammer back. Odin the hammer says, no, I can reach him. Hulk is yelling, Hulk. And then Hulk just explodes.
You end up having this huge explosion that rips everything apart. Tony is able to come out of the Celestial, and he's walking around trying to see, okay, what happened? What's going on?
Right. So the Celestial is wrecked, but I guess it saved Tony for now.
Yeah. It was able to, like a cocoon, it saves him. But
he's in a crater, very much like Spider-Man was in last, ASM number 1.
Yep. And so
it looks
you have
just like that.
It does. It looks exactly like that. And we have a problem with that a bit in both stories. But you end up then when Tony's looking, and it's a cool ending. It's a crazy deal, right? You have this million times. I just wonder if this is again. Remember, I said that Titan Hulk the Hulk's Hulk, that ended up getting a ton of speculators. Do you get that with this? Is that what we're having here? Or can you just say, it's that sort of story and we're having fun with it, and that's what you're trying to do, because you end up with Thor Hulk at the end who says Thor smash.
Gamma Thor.
And, just being guy getting the books, whatnot, you're like, oh man, that's really cool. That's
kind of a cool page.
Concept. But then when I sit there and think,
another one of those, I guess it would have meant more to me if we haven't gotten crossovers and multiversal versions coming out of our ears for the past year and a half. It would have been more exciting.
And the idea of just then cynic type deal of, that's just to get more speculation. That's more to get something there in an issue that didn't do much of just having a battle. That's where I think
it was just
I have
a fight. It has all it is a last page cliffhanger. That's the only time we see Gamma Thor is on this final page. Says Thor smash, and we're done. It's okay as a cliffhanger, but we didn't get any new elements, right? Last time we had more things about learning about the bar, or we have Odin going in to talk to Bruce, but we already had all those things. The only new thing is this issue is he explodes and Gamma Thor.
Yeah. And here's just a funny aside, just to think of the things. And I know, Donny Cates is writing both, but last issue of Thor, we got way more Hulk stuff than we did in all of the Hulk series. So that was kind of one of the things I got upset about. You ended up having an oversized issue with 2 backups that were bullcrap and kind of making people pay $6. This is all on the spotlight if you wanted to go hear that. But in this, the big development then is Thor, but and really is Thor the hammer, all these things. Like he keeps getting like the crisscross applesauce
all backwards,
going on. It is backwards, but then at the end you're like, well, it is Thor Hulk, so I guess that works out. But it kind of takes a little swerve there.
This really should have been its own separate miniseries because it's written as its own thing.
I wish it was.
It has the same art guy, art team all the way through. It's not written as here's Hulk's point of view, here's Thor's point of view. It's just one continuous story.
Yeah, this just should have been a banner of Hulk 1, 2, 3, 4, not or that sort of deal, not just or banner of war. I mean, not like the Alpha and then the Thor Hulk, but that's what you get. And pretty crazy. The next deal, the cover, it looks pretty impressive. But yeah, I want to see if this, the speculators of this jumps up any just because of this, hey, everybody, the first appearance of Thor Hulk or this or that. Now, again, somebody might say this is like the 80th time they've done that. I just didn't know, but we'll see what that goes. But overall, maybe it's just because it was so straightforward and you did get weird answers even in the recap, that I thought I could grip the story a little more.
Okay.
And I got mad last issue. Again, we saw the El Paso stuff. I'm not really here in the banner of war to see the El Paso stuff. You did that because you have to have the real idea of why they're going to get them and bring them back.
It was an okay idea to have Odin being in his head be the excuse to go through that story. He was like an audience to tell it to.
He was. And it's a narration device. It's the way to do it. I still will yell about the idea of if it makes sense or what's going on. But in this, I liked it better because you still have Odin, but it's more with Thor. And that's what I wanted to see. And even then, where you have in this a development where Thor does then rely on Odin. Like, I thought it was just going to be like, I hate you, Odin. I hate you, son. He ends up realizing I'm so desperate. Dad, just go do it. Just go.
It's almost becoming a buddy cop thing.
It is. And it became more of that, like, okay, Hulk will at points rely on him to do this. And now I would wonder what does Odin think now that he's a Hulk? I mean, that's kind of funny and cool and whatnot. So, and then you had with Thor smash at the end, just to kind of, I don't know, wink, wink, fun type deal. But I don't know. For some reason, I still don't think that this story is great. I still think that it's kind of a gimmicky thing to get people to buy both books. Like you said, maybe it should have been its own thing. But for some reason, this issue didn't bother me as much. I'm not going to say I loved it, but it didn't bother me. So my score is going to go way up. But what is your score for this?
Yeah, I thought this one was just okay. I didn't think it really moved the story forward very much. We got the Thor thing at the end, and that was about it. The art, again, was pretty good. It was fine. I think the double page splashes were maybe a little bit better than last time. But again, if we only have so many issues in this book, I want each issue to do more than this one did. So I'm giving it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm going 7.5, which again, if people think that's negative,
positive Jimmy.
Way higher than I was last time, because I think that finally in this one, again, like you said, story and going forward, whatnot. But yet at the beginning, me and you kind of the opposite. You wanted just a fun Hulk Thor. Let's have the fight. That's what we're going to get. And we got video game, type of scenes and things like that. And I wanted more story. Then we ended up getting more story, but I thought it was misplayed the way it is. And now I'm just like, just give me some fights. Give me some big Celestial, Tony. They're fighting. And then at the end, Thor Hulk, whatever. 7.5. And I thought the art was good, though confusing at points. When we said it took us a bit, but maybe that was the play. You weren't supposed to know right away that it was the hammer attacking Tony, but that's a big thing. And then when you realize it, you're like, oh, that happened. Okay, and go. But yeah, I kind of stay with it. I'm a little more positive. And it's funny. It's basically me and you coming to the middle ground together to see if we can enjoy this by the end, really. So we'll move on
Meeting
to
in
the
the
next
middle,
book,
sure.
though. And again,